Armada Book 1 Chapter 5 Olive Part 5. All the probes have now been detonated and the virus is underway. Ellie reported. Billy appeared as a hologram at the front of the bridge. Andrew, we see so much itch going around in these 6 planets. We are deploying Mac taggers. Good luck, Billy. General Man, we are producing some probes for the other inti planets here as well. We may need to give them the itch sometime in the future. Ellie said. The USS Andrew Man has stayed near the monster ship for more than 2 weeks now. In the mission hall, GX-1 is contemplating their situation. Our intel from the ground reports that the Intis are sending ships to the planets to help in the cure for the virus. It may be a good idea to send some probes so they can have their hands full. We can deploy more than 200 probes. Ellie said. Do it, but make sure they do not suspect anything. Andrew said. Our spies coming home have reported that the Intis are facing a host of problems. It would seem their population has grown too large for their planet to support. They were betting on taking over some Inki planets and kick the Inkis out or kill them. Andrew, if they do not succeed, we will doom these people. Gadden said. There are 12 habitable planets on the opposite side of their galaxy in 4 solar systems nearest to them that they can take over. Olive said. They probably want the existing Inki infrastructure. Ellie said. Now if that is not going to happen, we need to convince these people to move to the farther side and inhabit the planets there. How far are these 12 planets? Gadden asked. The nearest one is less than 80 LY, all the rest are within 120 LY, so they are not far from each other. Olive said. How widespread is this problem? Andrew asked. According to the spies, they are trying to solve the population problems by transferring them to the Inki planets. But with the itch, they are now transferring to the other Inti planets that can still take on extra population. Gadden continued, that's not the only problem. The Intis have a shorter lifespan of less than 200 years, and because their economies are not rich, they have to work almost all their productive lives in order to survive. Their governments can only provide for their non-productive years up to so much, and it is usually not enough for them to live a decent old age. Normally, the Intis are beset with a lot of geopolitical problems resulting to a fractious government. This war with the Inkis has unified the various factions and planets because they believe the war of conquest will solve their problems. What is the most costly item on their budget? Ellie asked. Energy and the transportation that goes with it, then food, then healthcare. Gadden answered. I see a desperate people. They decided to go to war with a technologically more advanced society, hoping they can win and spend their hard-earned money building a monster ship that we can just blow up. Andrew commented. Sir, we may not need to blow it up. What if we make it disappear? Ellie asked. That would be feasible if we have some medium-scale fusion power supply. Eric answered. Exactly how far ahead is the monster ship construction? Ellie asked Olive. 75%, it also has its own power system in place. Their power source generates 1 terawatt of power per day. Eric, we actually have several of those fusion power supply at the storage deck below. We just need to rig one up with a large-scale cloaking equipment, or we can rig it up with the ship's own power source or use both. Ellie said. Olive, can you communicate our present situation with Alan and Billy and tell them we intend to cloak the monster ship instead of blowing it up? Andrew said. Alan appeared on the bridge. Andrew, we have infiltrated the Furlit monster ship and all Furlits have been tagged and bombs placed. Our spies on the ground have reported that the Furlits' resolve to go to war with the Inkis is low. There are infighting among the leaders of the planets. Some believe that there is no clear benefit for their planets if the Furlits go to war. If we blow up this ship using Inti-looking Macs, we can put this war to an end right now as far as the Furlits are concerned. Alan, the Intis are in no condition to go to war, not mainly because of resolve but logistics. If we move all the Intis on the farthest planets, we could have saved the Inkis 5 planets. Now if we create hopping points to reach the Inti galaxy, we can transfer them all out of the Inki galaxy. The problem is we may have to allow the Inkis to show some power by engaging some Inti fleet and destroying them, then have the Inkis hit some command and control positions. Maybe we can have them take control of one original Inti planet, then the Inkis will then make the offer of peace. Bill appeared on the bridge as well. That would really hurt the Intis. A planet would mean a lot to them to ease their population. Gadden commented. Roden appeared on the bridge and he was with 2 other Inkis. We understand the situation, Andrew. How far are you with the 6 planets? We would be done in 2 months. Billy said. Establishment of high-volume TPs to the farthest planet in the Inti galaxy would be ready in 2 weeks from now. We are still trying to figure out the best hops we need to set up to transport the Intis back to their home galaxy. Ellie said. As you suggested, once we move the Intis to their home galaxy we can show some power. 2 months is just right for us to outfit our ships and the 6 planets with the latest plasma weapons. Then we can fly over their galaxy and hit their ships and later some of their installations. And Andrew, we agree that we may need to occupy a planet, but we also agree not to hold it. We will give it back in exchange for peace. Roden said. I was expecting that from you, Roden. The reason why we wanted to cloak the ship is so your bargaining power is higher, because you not only give the planet back but also the ship they have spent so much to build so they can use to get their people to the 12 planets in the far side of their galaxy. Andrew said. There is also a third thing that can help with the peace. The Inkeys can provide the Intis medium-size fusion reactors to help with the energy requirements and help them develop their economies. The Inkeys would have to be paid for the reactors some sort of maintenance fee. Ellie said. What can they possibly give us? Nothing, but that is not the point. The point is that now they are beholden to you and you have peace. Andrew said. I believe the price of peace in the galaxy is normally very, very high. Part of the price is the mindset factor, Roden. If you can do away with this mindset issue, then you just got yourself a bargain. Alan said. I would have to agree. So it's a plan then. General Cook, when do you intend to blow up the Furlet ship? I can blow it up in 3 days so we can leave the Furlets alone already. What's the hold up? Andrew asked. We still have people on the planets gathering intel. I would have to get them all back safe before we blow the ship up. Of course, after showing the Intis are the ones that did the job. We also need to deploy cloaked probes around the galaxy so we have continuous intel coming in. Finally, we cannot sow confusion and give them 2 months to understand what happened. We should blow up the ship at most a month before our start of the Inti operations. Alan said. We can blow it up days before the start of the Inti operations, just enough for your ships to leave and consolidate our forces here. That's the plan then, Andrew. Alan said. We would have to sit this out for 2 months until all the Intis are tagged. Billy said. I see here that 4 of the 8 hopping planets are actually good planets for Inkeys to develop. We can give the last hop planet to the Intis as part of the peace agreement. Ellie said. That would work, Ellie. Roden commented. 2 months later. Andrew and the teams were in his bridge. General Cook's ship arrived and they all beamed into General Cook's bridge. Roden appeared as a hologram. The Furlets did not even send ships to go after the Intis they saw. Alan started. Our ships are ready. Roden said. Okay, so our operation starts with you, Billy. Start the transfer immediately. Andrew said. Billy beamed over and commenced transferring the Intis to the farthest planet and started to hop them back to their galaxy. In the meantime, all the Intis in the monster ship have been transferred to a holding area by Furlet-looking personnel but were actually the Marines and Max appearing as Furlets. Then they were beamed to the planet below and the ship cloaked. The Max spies have spread the word that the Furlets have deserted their alliance and are now working with the Inkeys. The leaders are now agitated, especially when they realize some of the Intis from the 6 planets are being transported back to their galaxy. In a desperate move, they rounded up several hundred ships to attack the 6 planets and try to take it back. But before they can reach the farthest planet, they were intercepted by the Inkey fleet under Roden. They split their forces and some went straight to the planets. Roden did his job and destroyed those Inti ships that engaged him. After taking in some survivors, they headed for the 6 planets, and when they got there, they could see the ground weapons doing a fine job of destroying some of the ships in space. Roden's fleet then destroyed the remaining ships. After taking in survivors, the fleet headed to a planet at the nearest industrial Inti planet. They hit their communications and control facilities, their spaceports, and even local transport ships. They continued to bomb the planet from space, concentrating on the largest city group using the plasma cannons. After all the military infrastructures were destroyed, they put their troops on the ground. They created a time warp field around a large section of the city and established a large base of operations. Roden appeared on Andrew's bridge. Andrew, I believe now we can leave the war to the negotiators. Why don't you and Billy get your ship to our main homeworld? I will assign Inky teams to take over the transporting of the people. I am heading there right now and I would be honored to bring and receive you there. I like that, Roden. Our crew also needs the rest. In a few days, they found themselves going down to an Inky planet for the first time. The ship took in temporary operators so all the crew can go down. Andrew, would you like me to accompany GX-1 on the planet? Olive asked. Yes, I'd like that. Where are we going anyway? We are going to Roden's group while the other crew are going to be taken care of by various Inky groups. Ellie said. I am ready. Do I look good, Olive? Yes, Andrew, you look good. Here we go. With that, they found themselves in front of a crowd with Roden up front. They were inside a large dome building with huge square posts on each side and a very high ceiling. There were no decor or paintings on the white walls and the floor was as white as the walls. The walls and floors are not shiny but they look solid and hard. They started to cheer as Roden walked towards them and shook their hands. He introduced them to the top brass of their military and then to the senior council members who were standing on the right side. Then they saw Roden walking towards an elder man and accompanying him towards their human group. This is Gumden, head of the senior council members and our head leader in the Inky galaxies. Roden said. Gumden shook the team's hand and started to head to a makeshift stage. Roden accompanied him and stood at his back. I am honored to receive the people that gave the 6 planets back to us, given us the opportunity for peace with our neighbors, and turned Roden into a hero after saving his life. I would like to start commemorating this day as Earth Day in your honor and would like to document our friendship with this council decision I hold in my hand, which now considers all Earth people as our closest friends. Roden stepped beside Gumden and said, I would like to introduce for the benefit of our planets the key members of the team that ended in a few days what has been with us for hundreds of years. He introduced Alan, Andrew and the GX teams and a lot of the Max. The introduction elicited a lot of cheers from the crowd, which took the introduction longer. Andrew noticed probes hovering around, sometimes appearing then disappearing then appearing again at other locations. I would like to invite all the Earth human leaders and crews to some refreshments outside. Gumden said. When they got out of the building they found their human and Mac crews already falling in line towards several dozen tables of food. They were then directed to sit on tables further out on 3 streets. Ellie, they do not seem to look any different from us. They even have some of our food. Andrew whispered to Ellie. Andrew, they got the food from your ships. Although some of the items are native Inky fare. Their wines are good enough but not as good as Earth wines. Roden, who was walking behind them, said, I have sent ships to the Mac planets and they will get your supplies replenished. They will arrive in 2 days. I see your clothes are now varied also. I thought your clothes are the same for all occasions. Ellie said. I was wearing my uniform all the time. Roden said. We should start talking about trade and exchange of technology. Andrew said. After we eat. Roden said.